Hey everybody, welcome to NewWayStories. This is the comedy podcast that talks about creativity and how we can make the world a better place. And of course, we always end up talking about comic books or movies or things that some would argue don't matter at all. Today, we have a very special guest, and his name is Matt Alexander.
Ooh.
Matt, give it up. Give it, yeah, everybody. Matt, you don't have to give it up. Everybody at home, you have to applaud for Matt.
Crowd roars. The crowd roars like
rocking a corduroy White Sox hat. The Southsiders. Is that what it was?
For you.
Thanks, man.
For you.
Listen, I do think of the White Sox fondly because you get to go into their stadium super cheap. You just take the red line for $2.50 to go there. It's like a 10-minute walk from the station. You pay $8 to get into the stadium, and then nobody guards the lower bowl because they want it to look like people are there.
You heard it here first,
You
folks.
lost me at walk.
Jesse Roberts fondles the White Sox because they're cheap and they don't have good security.
If you go to any sort of game, there's walking involved. Even the Mariners game, if you park in the garage right next to the stadium, you have to walk a little bit.
I Uber.
You get dropped
from the
off
parking lot across the street.
Even at that though, you have to walk. A stadium is huge, so you have to walk.
He gets the bike Uber.
He just
he gets
keeps
the bike
going.
Uber, and he gets the guy from Clock Stoppers bunny hops him on his back wheel.
No, what I do is
a Clock Stopper reference, guys.
What I do is I pretend like I can't walk, and so I and then my Uber is my children who wheel me along. And
I will say some of the greatest seats that I've gotten or first class like preferential treatment is when my dad is like post-surgery in a wheelchair.
Come on.
And my brother and I are pushing him around. We went to a Leonard Skinner concert in the White River Amphitheater in Darius's neck of the woods.
Sick.
We paid for the lawn, right?
They put you on the stage.
and we sang Freebird with Johnny. No, it was raining. It was disgusting out. But the handicap section was midway up so it was like super close to the stage. So instead of paying like $300 a ticket, which is what like where we were, we got out of the rain. We paid lawn seats. Anyway, I give a shout out to my dad for being a handicap.
Come on. Come on.
I mean, you never have to park far at Walmart. It's great. That's the benefit. You want to be related to somebody that's handicapped. You don't want to be handicapped. You don't want that.
My guess is my family won't. Maybe they won't watch this, but if they do, I apologize in advance. But all of them are handicapped in some way.
Yeah.
So my mom, literally, I don't think she's handicapped. I don't think so. But she's got a sticker, or she's got the little thing. And my mom, and people look at her like, "You are what, lady? You're lying." Yeah. And I'm like, "Yeah, she is.
She is."
Well, I get the opposite. Well, where I tell people I'm fine, and they say, "No, I'm pretty sure you're handicapped."
No, I can do it. I swear. You don't have to prove it to anybody.
I am completely normal.
Hey,
people don't believe me.
I'm your host, Jesse Roberts. I forgot to introduce people. Darius is with us. We already introduced Matt Alexander. Ben is off camera. It's an audio podcast, so it doesn't really matter unless you're watching it on Spotify or YouTube. Just know that Ben is here. I think we might lean this way anyway, going forward. Guest or no guest? What does that Ben off camera? No. Hey, a couple weeks ago,
Ben has to say something so that sounds
we have
like a real.
Yeah, so we prove it.
He's a real person.
Yeah, Ben, you want to say a little
Hello,
something?
I'm Ben. I'm so glad to be off camera today. Thanks, Gilbert Godfrey.
The fact that
I'm so glad to be off camera today.
The fact that we have audio and lights proves that Ben was here, because if it was just us recording, it would be the worst, like over Zoom, cell phone, whatever.
The way it was before Ben, the BC days.
The BC days. Ben.
Before kin?
Just say hey.
Child. He won't do it.
He's miming something to Matt.
Ben, you want a cracker?
He should tell me, because I can't read sign language, Hispanic sign language.
If he takes his shoe off, run.
You should know
Chunkla.
that there are. This is actually something I've been kind of fascinated by. There is a sign language all over. Like, there's different languages. There's American Sign Language. There's
my guess is that's why they called it
other
American
sign languages. Yeah. I mean, it's nice for them because they can actually say I speak American, and it like means something. This I was gonna. A couple weeks ago, we had a guy on who is an author of the Vitalarium series.
Yeah.
And I ordered the comic books, and they just came in the mail. Go and check that episode out. So these are the first two comic books in his series based on his novel, but we were talking about it, man. He's a stud in marketing and putting stuff out. I guess I can keep these. These are super legit. The art is a lot of fun. It does remind me of like, I don't know. You can see it from the cover. It's like super bright, neon, kind of space, definitely space stuff. I actually enjoy reading this sort of stuff in a comic book form so I can visually see it rather than getting bogged down by, like if you're trying to describe all of this, it takes like seven pages.
Jesse doesn't like too many words.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. The pictures make it easy is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. But he also did me a solid and signed it.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
So that's super sick. So if you haven't listened to it yet, go listen to the Nick Casbarro episode.
Nick Casbarro?
Nick Casbarro.
I don't know what that is.
Came out. I didn't either until a couple weeks ago. And we talked about his book, and the comics are super sick. So I'm excited to dive into those. One of the things I do is I like to find indie like comic book authors and buy their books, but get their signatures as well. And so if I'm ever at like a comic book con or whatever, I will go to what's called Artist Alley, find somebody that I like the art, I like the story, and support them. It's kind of a fun thing. So this is a cool thing to add to my collection. But that's not why we're here today, Matt. We're here for something else.
Yes.
I could talk White Sox for a long time, but Darius and Ben would not appreciate it. Have you seen the 30 for 30? Real quick, I've talked about it before. Have you seen the 30 for 30 on the White Sox? They are the people who started like the gimmicks. You come to the first 10,000 fans get. So they're like the something.
Savannah Bananas of the MLB.
Yeah. So
no, I haven't watched it.
You should watch it. You would enjoy it. One of the most infamous ones back in the 70s was Disco Sucks Night. And it was a doubleheader.
Come on.
Right? Doubleheader. And what they did was they brought a whole bunch of disco records to center field and literally blew them up.
Come on.
And there was a crater left in center field. And
during the second game.
Yeah, in between. So it was played the first game. They blew up these disco records, and then people like it caused like a I don't know. People were on the field. It was crazy, and they had to. They were like, "Please get off the field so we can play baseball." And then White Sox had to forfeit the second game because people wouldn't
get off the field.
They wouldn't leave. But well back in the 70s, the White Sox, they said instead of playing good baseball to attract people to the field, let's try other things. So Wednesdays, man, $1 hot dog night. It's great. You can't afford not to go at that point.
So I can't believe
Elvis night is great. You got Elvis impersonators skydiving into the stadium every July. It's amazing.
That's crazy. They skydive into the stadium?
You get a 20-minute like this. Listen, it's the best entertainment money can buy. Let me just pitch it to you real quick. I've talked about it before. You pay like $20 for a ticket. Before the game, you watch people skydive into the stadium dressed like Elvis. Amazing. They've got Elvis playing all through the night. They've got when the athletes go up, they've got like Elvis, filters, right? All that stuff. They've got Elvis facts on the big board. Then at the end, more skydivers happen. They go, not just before the game, after the game as well. And then you have an Elvis impersonator concert. He drives out in a pink Cadillac. There's like Vegas dancers, right? Like, and then a fireworks show set to Elvis music.
$20.
$20. It doesn't matter if the White Sox are good or suck. It's like so much people show up dressed up like Elvis. It's like a thing.
Just think about if they were good.
I know.
If they were good.
I know. Dude, 2005 must have been insane. You got the Pope there. You've got Elvis. It's coming back. That's actually the Pope he performed. That was his second miracle. He brought Elvis back to get sainthood.
It's insane.
You have to have 2 documented
miracles
to be a saint.
But usually,
I don't think he's got it yet.
Yeah. I hate the way they do that. I hate the way they do it because they're never ever in the modern day. They're never miracles. It's like he started a foundation to feed homeless children. What a miracle! And like that's literally what they use.
We'll give him that one.
And I'm like, yeah. I mean, it is really special. But I feel like you might be diminishing what miracle means.
What a miracle. All right. So what we're talking about today, Matt, this is why I wanted to have you on, was talking about raising the next generation, or not even just raising the next generation. You used to be a kids pastor, and that was kind of my introduction to you.
And you used to be a kid.
You used to be a kid. You were a kids pastor.
I was a big kid.
Big kid. And he still is a big kid.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying? Oh, guys, that's the type of humor we do here on.
That actually was a pre-written joke.
No.
The whole podcast up to this point has been a convergence of that moment.
To this one thing.
It was all for that.
This has been a Christopher Nolan film, all leading to that one moment. And he's still a big kid. Boom, boom.
I think we talk about creativity, bettering yourself as a creative, all of these things. Yeah. But we don't really talk about a whole lot like the people who come after you or bringing somebody into your circle or whatever. Give me just like your overall idea on that. This is a very vague question, but
bringing people in,
just bring them in and reproducing yourself, whether it's creatively, leadership wise, morals, or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I would say the first thing that you have to realize is that you got to walk the walk. So you can't say and do as I say, but not as I do.
Yeah.
So that's obviously an obvious thing. But for me, where it started, so it's funny because I took over for this failing children's pastor at this small little church, and that children's pastor was Jesse Roberts.
I mean,
in my head, I was like, man, who are we going to offend?
I go, you can't throw Tim under the bus like that.
But no, Jesse was at the end, and he was in a right way moving into that youth ministry world.
Yeah.
And so I came and took over this kids church of, that was hanging on by a thread.
Yeah. Five or six people at least. No, there were 12 people because we had at least four families that had 3 kids in kids ministry.
It was very nice. It was very nice to start. But in that, it started and I kind of have a big personality. And so I was able to first kind of start the ministry just being energetic and having fun. Like we had like a game room that was all games and video games and all that. And then we had high energy, which not that Jesse wasn't doing that. It's just that Jesse's heart wasn't in that place. And that's,
I'm not the most high energy guy. That's
true.
I mean, I can turn it on, but for $300 a month, it's tough to turn it on all the time.
Very, very, very true. But in that, we started to build something. And actually, I don't even know if you know this, if I've told you this, but on our last Sunday at that church, we had more kids in the kids ministry than we had adults. In the main service. And so that was kind of a cool thing.
That's crazy.
And then what I heard is that the next Sunday, the following Sunday, the Sunday I wasn't there, was it went from we had 70 something kids that last Sunday, and it went from 70 something kids to like back to 12.
Back down to 12.
Back to 12.
Back down to the foundation that Jesse built.
It sounds like what Jesse built is what couldn't be shaken. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, what I realized is that I built it all on me. And I vowed from that day that I would never, ever build something on me. I would never build it on who I am as a person. Being that I'm a pastor, like my job isn't to build it on Matt. My job is to build it on the foundation of Christ. And that was the problem. Was I built it on me. We had good things. One of my favorite stories from that actually is from that church was we did a thing called Kid Bowl. And so this Kid Bowl is, we get the whole place looking like a stadium. And in the stadium, so we have AstroTurf on the ground, and we got banners and we got everything. It's pretty cool for the kids. And the whole service is like a trivia thing, but you earn yards to try and score. That's the whole thing. And the Seahawks were getting ready to go into the NFC or to the Super Bowl. They were getting ready to get in there. And so I was like, you know what? We're all Seahawks here. So let's play this hype video that I watched. Of a 4-minute video, I watched about 3 minutes and 30 seconds of this video. I felt really good about it. And we showed that video, and a man by the name of Macklemore was rapping.
Sure.
And we got to that last little part of this video, and wouldn't you know it, those 30 seconds that I didn't watch, he drops the F-bomb. Straight up F-bomb in church.
In kids' church.
And literally every single person in that room who's straight ahead watching the video and I'm behind him goes.
Just.
And Matt is in the sound booth, and as soon as they turn around, they see this.
No.
He mouths to all of them. He goes,
At a Tandem in the kids' room, you don't have the security of a sound booth.
Yeah.
You're out in the open.
You're open. I was ready for shots.
There's no hiding. You can't be like Ben at the Yakima campus up in the balcony where no one can see you.
Yep. Yeah, I had to apologize to every parent as they walked in and explain the situation.
Yeah.
Every single parent.
And you know what? Probably none of them cared, to be honest with you.
No, I got a lot of grace. Yeah. Which is cool.
You can't do it too many times, but on the first one,
that was the only one.
Also, I mean, you go, hey, I was trying to get them pumped about the Seahawks, and they go, totally get it.
Yeah, totally get it.
Look,
if we had a nickel for every time we said the F word talking about the Seahawks at our house,
just trying to get them pumped.
Tim, get the F in here. We're about to watch the Seahawks
kick off.
We got to get the F out of church so we can get home by 1.
Oh, man. It's always great during football season when the ESPN tone goes off in church. You're like, well, Seahawks just scored a touchdown.
Yeah. Or you see people going.
Yeah.
Yeah. People.
You get the hands raised during worship. Lord, I lift your name on.
It's usually this. It's usually here.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah. And then they're in it even more.
Yeah.
You came from heaven to earth. Or they go down and then they start really weeping.
Yeah.
And
they're on there and just.
They go. Lord, you can do anything. You are a God of miracles. Yeah.
Pope, if you do this, if you make this miracle happen
I'll
now.
be Catholic. Hey, I'll do it. I'll convert.
But yeah, no. So that was you have that moment where things become where it honestly, like, to be honest, when we're building this thing and people are coming, kids are coming, you feel good about it. You feel great. Like, man, we're doing something. You leave and it drops down. It kind of at first like, it's built on me. Like, look how good I did. But then as I realized, like, honestly, the more mature I got in my leadership and who I am, realized like how bad that was, how terrible that thought process was. And because everything was on me, I wasn't involving that much other people. So I wouldn't, I came back to the church that we come from here at Stone. And, I was volunteer elementary guy. And so, but I was kind of handed the keys. So it was this weird season that we had here, and before our current pastor, Jeff. And in that, I remember my first meeting with this team, again, wasn't still in that.
Everything was like really, really rock solid too, before Jeff and between that guy and Jeff. And so that's a good season to start on.
It was great. Yeah, it was great. But what's interesting is I was still in the frame of mind of like, I can build this on me. And so I wasn't organized. I wasn't any of that. And so my first meeting, I'm like, hey, we're going to all come together. And so all the elementary leads come together, and I'm like, okay, here's the vision. And I gave this vision, and it's all about me. And then I was like, and here's the curriculum. Now, here's the thing about I just printed out like 12 copies of this thing. I didn't staple anything. I didn't know what was in those 12 copies. And
so you were always on the trajectory to become a church planter.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But what's funny is that was the moment that shifted, because I literally lost 2 key people because of that meeting.
They just said you're not organized, you're not ready.
We can't follow somebody like this.
I think especially when you get to, nothing against like a tandem, because I do think that there are high level people in a tandem, there are high level volunteers, but I think too, like in a small church.
Yeah.
So it's not even, I'm not even just talking about a tandem, but like small church in general. But then you get to like Stone Church, a little bit larger in the community, you actually attract like big business leaders and things, like people who run businesses, people who are very organized and are like good leaders.
Yeah.
Are attracted to these sorts of like churches. And so then they're your volunteers. And when you can't match them on like on that level, they're like, yeah, I'm not going to waste my time with someone who is not organized, because they don't, they're not going to waste their time.
100%.
I would even just honestly say that I always hear people say that, like that these larger church organizations attract different people, and that might be true, but I think even just like more naturally, the talent pool is larger. Therefore the bench is,
for sure,
the bench is deeper. There's a different kind of, there's people there that you literally just wouldn't have in a tiny talent pool. And
for sure,
I think that's part of it.
I mean, when you're talking about like deep talent pool, like you go to the Olympics, right? We talk about this. You got like these really small countries, like Ireland. You're like, oh, there's someone from Ireland. That's cool. They're the size of Washington State.
Yeah.
Like, so if they have any athletes
in the Olympics,
that's the equivalent of like someone from America representing us from Washington, right? Which is actually like pretty few and far between.
Yeah.
I don't know. You got the Apollo Ono, I think. I'm sure there's other people.
Yeah, but he's not in the real Olympics.
The speed skater.
Come on.
Absolutely. Short track, baby. Anyway. Yeah. Talent pool. Yeah.
And you have the establishment. Reason. You have the like establishment of like, when people, usually I think when people say we can't follow someone like this is because they have experience with a different leader that did things differently and probably more polished and more organized. But that's also part of a larger institution, is like there's a much like more robust institutional memory at these larger church organizations than there tends to be at a small church organization.
So let me ask you this, from kind of separating it a little bit. What do you think like the differences between kind of being a mentor to a young person, like a kid, compared to being a mentor to someone who is early 20s or an adult or whatever? Because I think there's 2 different things here. And then again, like from us talking from a creative standpoint, I think not only do you want to like help someone come along in their skills, but also like in the mentality of, I mean, the thing that you mentioned, the thing you learned was like, don't build it on yourself, because that's like, that is a very fickle thing to build something on. And I think that goes to creativity as well. I had a similar experience. I've talked about it before. with stand-up. Like, I had a very unhealthy relationship with stand-up where that was my, like, when I did good, everything was great. When I did bad, everything was really bad. And it's like, you know, especially when you're not that funny, you get depressed a lot. But when you have when you're approaching creativity from a healthier standpoint, anyway, talk about those two differences between a young person and like an adult.
Well, I would say like the easiest way to break it down in my mind, the easiest way to break it down is when I'm mentoring a kid, you know, let's just say someone who's pre-adulthood.
Sure.
You know, so that it's even 16, 15, 16, 17, somewhere in there. What I try to do is I try to speak to passion.
Yeah.
I try. So I want to get them involved where they're passionate. And so at some of those ages, it could be, so one person is Andrew Modine. Andrew Modine is, and he'll tell you this, I was the first person to give him opportunity because he had passion for it.
Yeah.
And so that passion that he had was to do sound, to be a sound guy. And so, you know, I was like, I want to help him really kind of cultivate this passion that he has. And now that's kind of a lot of what he does for somewhat a living, you know, is that's, and the genesis of that was just someone being willing to see at 8 years old, 7 years old, hey dude, come up and give him, you know, that opportunity.
Did you do, I can't remember if you did this back at the Tandem. Did we have a day like in adult church that was like ran by kids?
Never.
Never?
Never.
You never did that?
Never. They didn't trust me enough, I guess.
Maybe I definitely did it with youth, but I thought that there was.
Well, that's usually a youth thing. Youth takeover.
Yeah, youth takeover.
And then you got like
a sick human
worship
video.
And then worship is like terrible because you got kids who barely know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then you got some girl who thinks she can sing, but then she's, you know.
Yes.
But and then the youth pastor gets up and preaches. And
then it's even worse.
It's like that. It's like an hour and a half service goes 4 hours because you can't stay on time. But, yeah. So, no, we never did that. We never did that. The closest I got to preaching on a Sunday was I got to do was me, Brian, and Dave. And it was all three of us preaching. And I got like a 5-minute part.
Nice.
And I preached the, you know what, out of that 5 minutes. Give me an
the SHIT out of it.
No, I was going to say the heck.
Oh, is that not what you were trying to say?
You know, I learned my lesson with curse words in that video. So, but then on the other side of that,
he uses his 4 minutes, 4 of 5 minutes to preach. Is like, hey, listen to this pump up video real quick, and then I'll like kind of close it for a minute.
I was gonna say, Matt, don't act like you've learned your lesson one time. I have a clip of you slipping an F word out.
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Kentucky Fried Chicken. He was telling a story about how his grandma would tell him to take him to Kentucky Fried Chicken, and he combined Kentucky and fried.
Ooh, yeah, I can see how that.
And no N. There's no N in Kentucky. So yeah, it was a bad day. But you know what though? But then when it comes to adults, young adults, I really speak to opportunity.
Yeah.
So rather than it being passion, now I'm speaking to opportunity. And so what I try to do is I try to see something in them that might not be the passion, but might be the opportunity for them to jump into a role that can get them to the place that God wants to get them to.
Yeah.
And so there's been people where I'm like, hey, would you come and just be the stage guy? Like, I just want you to come and be the stage guy. And that's all I need you to do is just be excited every Sunday. And I know you have this background in theater, and so you can use that. Like, oh man, and you know what? I think this would be great for you.
Yeah.
But then I always end it with, you know, but pray about it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want it to be a me thing. I want it to be, and so I'm always looking for things. Like I'm trying to find jobs for people that might not be an actual job.
Yeah.
When it comes to, but then once it becomes a thing, then that's the time that I can take opportunity. So with kids, it's passion to opportunity. With adults, it's opportunity to passion.
I think when you're like leading like an organization that's built on volunteers, built on, you know, church is a unique spot where you get a gathering of people, and then you get to kind of be creative with like how you're going to empower those people. I think, creating jobs. Obviously, if you're like trying to pay bills and you like just creating jobs doesn't always work out to pay the bills. However, I do think that if you like listen and pay attention, 100%. Like you will find stuff that people are passionate about 100%. And you go, oh, I never actually thought about that. Maybe I do give them an opportunity. Maybe it's a freelance opportunity or something. Maybe it's not a full-time gig, but opportunity is huge. And I like, that's one thing that I like want to look for. That's one of the reasons why I like buy stuff from like indie authors. I'm like, man, you put in like time, effort, and discipline to do this. Like I want to support you. And so what I'll like also do is, if I like see somebody who's like talented, let me pay you a little bit of money to do your thing. It's not like, it's not like I'm making your dreams come true or whatever, but like, let me pay you $50 to like play at Northtown. You know, it's not breaking the bank, but like the fact that they go, I get paid to like do a thing that I like, right? Or I'm always looking for like local artists to like kind of highlight their paintings or whatever. I was just texting with somebody about that today. It's opportunity is huge, and when it takes it from this is just something that I like to do in my free time to like, oh, like people appreciate that. Yep. I think it does like kind of bring some fire to it as well, or even just like bringing people alongside. Like I'm not an expert in writing, like I'm not an expert author, or I'm not an expert like stand up, but like kind of allowing people to just be at the table and like create with you and like asking genuine feedback, whether you take it or not. Like, I think those are all like little opportunities that people go, oh, like I have something valuable to give. And then that like kickstarts like them on their creative journey. Yeah.
You know, it's funny because this is off topic, but on. Yeah. My wife thinks you're the funniest person on the face of the earth. So you need to give yourself a
Your
break.
wife is incorrect.
You need to give yourself a break. And today's last day
at that
of
marriage
Ben's
conference.
time on this podcast.
There is no podcast without me.
I can turn lights on.
Who was that?
Yeah. Did you guys hear something?
Gilbert Godfrey. It was Gilbert Godfrey.
Jesse, we have an intruder.
Sorry, you were talking about how funny I am.
Yeah. She thinks you're hilarious. I think you're funny too. So don't.
Hey man,
you're.
I also kind of think that's so great.
I
my wife loves you
that.
is the funniest. I met Joey Lawrence one time. We were at Disneyland.
Hey.
And we saw him at a hotel. And yeah. And I was like, "Hey, dude." And I walked up to him because Brittany was like, "That's Joey Lawrence." And I was like, "Who's that again?" And she was like, "You know Joey Lawrence from this and this." And I was like, "Oh, yeah. The guy that used to do that TV show with Sabrina the Teenage Witch." And I walk over to him and he's like 5 feet tall. And so that was a little bit strange. I didn't know that he was like so tiny. He looks like a jockey. And then I was like, "Hey, dude, I don't want to interrupt you. I know you're like trying to have your private moment, but my wife like is a huge fan and wanted me to come take a picture." And he was like, "Oh, your wife's a fan? Okay." And I was like, "Oh, I wasn't trying to offend you. You're just not tall enough to be like like someone I look up to."
Yeah.
Physically. Literally.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're more of a sports guy. Listen, this is more of a nerd podcast.
Come on.
I've learned recently that you've never seen Star Wars, which I've brought up since. I've already been talking behind your back.
Come on.
It's insane to me.
Do you like movies?
I do.
What's the nerdiest thing that you have watched?
Well, that I've watched?
Yeah. Or seen or read or whatever.
I watched let's just be honest, I don't read. Bible's on Audible. Every book's on Audible.
Dude, have you ever heard of something called Streetlights? I think you would dig it because you're like a 90s hip hop guy.
Come on. Is it a book?
It is audio, but it's set to like hip hop beats, and the guys are reading it.
So it's a man's musical
in a cadence. They're like halfway done with the Bible. It's sick.
Oh, really?
Streetlights.
Streetlights. Okay, I'm gonna.
That's really dope. I'd be careful calling hip hop and musicals strictly a man's musical because Hamilton exists, and I don't think its fan base is broadly male.
And I don't think it's hip hop. So I think we're good. I think it's just a lot of writing.
Lin-Manuel got a whole generation into hip hop
that only like Lin-Manuel. So
I'm, not gonna waste my shot or whatever it is. What is the word? La line?
Throwing away.
I'm not going to throw away.
I'm not throwing away.
If you get one shot, one opportunity to seize everything, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Eminem. Same thing.
I had a line.
Lin-Manuel Mathers Miranda.
I had a line in Rat Race that is like I can't remember what was happening, but then I said like Eminem, he snapped back to reality.
Come on.
I was like, that's a great line.
That's a great line. But the nerdiest thing that I've watched.
Yeah.
This podcast?
Yeah, okay. That's fair.
You haven't listened to this podcast.
You're lying.
Can we just address one thing and one thing very clearly?
Yeah.
Earlier on in the beginning of this podcast, I was said by one Darius Giles that I am a flat earther.
He
has listened.
We stand by that.
And I am not a flat earther. I am not a flat earther.
Sure.
He's a triangle earther.
Now you're on the podcast and you're getting a little wishy-washy in the beliefs.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. I am full on. But yeah, I think the nerdiest thing about me.
I think what I'm remembering is I'm misremembering. You didn't say you were a flat earther. You said the measles vaccine was completely fake. It never actually existed. It was a psyop from the government. And any parent who vaccinates their kids is injecting them with demons. And I somehow conflated that with flat Earth. But
you know the funny thing about that is?
It's something that you confuse easily, I think.
But the funny thing about that is I know you're joking right now. But it's 100% true. It's 100% true. It's 100%
You're like not buying
true.
the measles. You go, the measles and mumps vaccination? Yeah. Not happening.
Measles, schmeasles. My kids have all had pneumonia for 20 years.
And you know what? They're still going.
Still kicking.
I think the nerdiest thing about me though is like I do know the Star Wars characters. Like Spock and Captain Kirk.
Son of a
Got him.
You know what's funny is like I think obviously, like sports people make fun. Traditionally, make fun of nerds. Make fun of people like Ben.
Ben is literally over in the corner.
Yeah,
turn the other way because he's upset. Deep sigh.
But like sports fans are huge nerds when it comes to like sports numbers, right?
Statistics,
like as a kid, you've got every statistic memorized, and now in like the information age, like there's more statistics. I'm a little nervous to talk to a 10-year-old about baseball. Like they've got all like WAR, a WRC plus. Like I'm like dude, give me batting average and ERA. That's all I got. So okay, sports. This is what I kind of wanted to talk about.
Matt, you've seen the Marvel movies though.
Yes. Oh yeah, and they're awesome.
So Matt watches nerdies. Like he watches sci-fi.
Those aren't nerdies. Those are Disney.
I mean, dude, those are Disney nerd is like another subsect of nerdom.
They bought Marvel to get that audience.
Yeah, and
can I ask a question? Though?
And Matt started watching Disney when they bought ESPN.
So it's a Disney. All right, perfect.
So when it comes to generational, I've been thinking about this recently. You got Cooper Kupp. Right?
Yep.
He's in the NFL. He's on the Seahawks now.
Yep.
It's going to be,
welcome home.
That's crazy.
Solve all of our problems. His father was a football player, Craig Kupp. And you see that a lot. Like
his grandfather was a football player too.
Okay. Great point. So
actually, one of his sisters played football as well.
Their families
his great aunt used to sew footballs. She used to skin the pigs.
Well, we don't know that for sure, but add it to the Wikipedia just in case.
I'm saying this here right now. Cooper Kupp is a flat earther, and his great aunt skinned pigs to make footballs.
I mean, how else were you making? I mean, that's why they call it the pigskin. And he said my son can throw this literally to the edge of the earth.
He said he could throw him over those mountains. Though,
Yeah.
What he did say.
Back in over the ice, over
Back
the
in
ice
82,
mountains.
if I-
So
Coach
big
would've put
ski,
me in.
quarter mile.
If Coach would
That
just
is
put me
so
in.
funny, Jesse. That is
Well,
really.
thank you.
You know what?
Thank you.
I take back everything I've said.
Thank you.
Who was that? Who just said that?
That's I don't know. You guys heard that too. I'm not just hearing voices in my head.
What did the voice say?
It's talked about how
Something
funny
about
I
how good he
was.
is.
No, that's
and-
definitely
yeah.
in your head.
Is that just dang it? So you've got athlete families.
Yeah.
And it's very common, right? Their father played whatever. My question is it more genetics or is it more like this parent knows what it takes to get into the NFL, the MLB, and they pass on
Absolutely the second one. It's
those
absolutely
disciplines.
the second one.
Darius, I was trying to get a hot take from our guest, Matt.
Sorry, I thought I said that in my head.
Matt, what do you think
I think the answer is yes.
on the second one or both?
Yes,
Yeah.
both. I think you have parents who the problem with this is that parents today think they're 4'7", little 444
They're little
pound.
mugsies.
He's gonna make it to the NFL because you know what? That growth spurt's coming. That
Right,
growth spurt's
right.
coming. And so they put everything in that basket.
There is definitely an element of genes, but like Tyler Lockett is like 5'11", $160, and looks like an old man.
And that's where probably having genetics that help the other side of those things. Because yes, you're small, but hand-eye coordination, being able to.
I
So
will
you
say,
get- you
it's
get
funny
a
that you
base-
use Tyler Lockett as an example because I actually, on that one, I actually do think he's got freak genetics.
Yep.
In his
What's-
ability to run insanely fast, the twitch muscle, the jumping, the hand-eye coordination.
So obviously
But
there's
he
a
also
little
has
bit involved, but I don't think like what Tyler Lockett is great at. He doesn't have great separation speed. He's not faster than everybody else in the NFL. He's a
Okay.
precise route runner, and he freaking knows how to catch a ball, especially like in the first 8 years of his career. And so in my head, I'm like, is that genetics, or is that a guy who just like is disciplined to run the route tree over and over?
Like,
and
I'm not
over
even
again?
trying to be offensive. So if you take it offensively, I apologize.
No offense taken.
Could you run those routes?
I think that if I had the discipline, I could and started earlier. If I'm starting at 35, then probably not. But I do think I am a semi-talented athlete
There you are.
just by nature,
Mhm.
right? With zero real discipline involved. I've got decent hand-eye coordination. I can go get on a bike right now if I wanted to and hit a stick jump. I might die because
Okay,
I haven't done
all
it
right.
for 15 years.
Brag
But
much?
but if you like
This whole episode
if you toss me a
is about
football,
him.
if you toss me a football, I can catch it right now, and I could throw you a semi-decent spiral back.
Could you catch that football, or could you throw that football with a 350-pound man running after you, or with Cam Chancellor coming across
So,
the middle?
No,
That's a
because
different
Those are
world.
also
but I
learned
also
skills.
stopped playing.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
I also stopped playing football in the 7th grade because I got a D in science. I was like, well, screw you guys. I'm going to go rollerblade like a cool guy.
Football might not be the best example of all examples. There's a size, generally speaking, there are some genetic things with football that Tyler Lockett's like the worst person to pick with this because he's one of the smallest people in the NFL. There's generally in the NFL, there's a general size, there's a general physicality.
That's
So
true.
Something like that, Jesse, would have been way harder to get into. But if your dad had started you golfing when you were 3,
right.
If your dad had started you in tennis when you were 5, if your mom had like done not swimming, what's gymnastics?
That's the basic concept. You have to put in. Everybody has to put in 10,000 hours, right?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
if you start at 3, compared to like someone who gets to middle school and goes, I think I'll try out.
Try this now.
I'm going to try this now. The person who's been doing it since they're 3 has literally 10 years of advantage, right?
The Cooper Cup is going to beat you into the ground all day, every time. The Gronkowski is going to beat you. And what's the guy that dates Taylor Swift? His dad was like his like personal athletics coach, and what's that guy's name?
Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce. Matt doesn't know that because of sports. It is because he is a T Swift nerd.
Yeah, I'll go toe to toe with you. But Travis
Darius
Kelce
has a Travis Kelce jersey.
I have a Travis Kelce jersey with his name taken off the back and Swift on the back.
It's because he's taking Taylor's last name.
Better. She's got a lot more money. And I've heard him say, like, when he was in high school, there was a year where he was injured, and his dad was like, you're not going to be off the team this year. You're going to study sports medicine this year, and you're going to be the team's like ankle wrapper this year. That kind of crap. That's the stuff the Pareto principle. The Pareto principle is the 20% that have a slight advantage get 80% more nutrients. It's based on like pea pods. The 20% that have a slight advantage, like they have a 5 to 10% advantage, they get 80% more of the attention, and then they outgrow the other 80% like dramatically.
Yeah. Well, that's Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp was not recruited out of high school.
Yeah.
And
he went to Eastern, right?
He went to Eastern. Yeah. But in that he was a good, not a great, but a good high school football player. Small, undersized, goes to Eastern, begins that growth spurt that happens, becomes, he
has a growth spurt in college?
He has that's where a lot of like the bulk of his body.
No, that's not a growth spurt though. I understand what you're saying. Sorry, a growth spurt.
I'm sorry, I'm not a medical.
No, sorry.
But he grew a couple inches too.
Okay, so he did his skeleton grew.
I don't know. I just said that because I didn't want to just stop talking.
I didn't want to sound stupid. Dude.
He filled out.
Can I tell you, trying to mention any sort of medical thing in my house comes with such trepidation.
Did you know?
Then I go, oh, that guy has the cold. And my wife is like, is it the cold or is it just cold symptoms? Because, just because you have a runny nose doesn't mean you have the common cold. That's like an actual virus. And I go, I don't know. I'm taking vitamin C and I'm trying to get rid of it. I don't know.
And that guy is what you're saying.
That guy sorry, growth spurts always sound a medical term. I just mean, I think when people say growth spurt, they usually imagine someone they're getting taller.
People only get taller. They don't, when they grow,
but he's bulking up.
That's it. I get it. I get what you're saying.
He's getting the man muscles.
So and you have that. But here's the thing though, is he has the natural genetics of an athlete. And so you have that to where he understands, but at the same time, having a dad who's been there, having a grandpa who's been there, you understand what it takes that the average person doesn't. It's not getting your kid into every single thing that they can possibly get into and spending all their, it's also saying no to certain things and saying, hey, we're going to take a break from football. We're going to take I believe he played every sport. And so there's those things. So that's why I think that.
I've been thinking about it. I have a kid on the way and I'm thinking about how I'm going to introduce him to golf. Star Wars. I'm thinking about, what are these? And I heard Brock Heward, who was...
I literally walked by him at the Bell Square.
Oh, really?
Walked by. And
so, he's a
big kid.
He's a big dude. And it's clear that he is an athlete, right?
Yeah.
But also, though, he talks about it. He hosts the ESPN Seattle morning show. And he was talking about how his dad... when it was like, hey, I want to be a quarterback, his dad and him threw 1,000 spirals every single day. Yep. And I go, sorry, Peter, I'm not going to throw 1,000 spirals every day. I go I just don't have that drive. The moment I'll go out and play catch, right? I'm gonna have a catch with my son, like Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams. And my son's not gonna have to build a cornfield for me to come to him after life. We're getting into the weeds here. Or what Midwesterners call corn. the moment that he's like, I don't really feel like playing catch today, I'm like, yeah, totally. Let's go watch Storage Wars because that's what we're into right now.
My kids get upset because they Dad, will you go shoot with us? Will you go shoot baskets with us? And I'm like, yeah. And then like they're super selfish and they don't let me shoot. So really it was,
they just want you to be the ball retriever. Yeah.
And then I get the ball, and the moment I'm done is when I miss the first shot and the ball goes somewhere else and I have to go get it. I'm like, you know what? Never mind.
I will say I'm out. The repeating effect that you have to do. This is why I've been about the same golfer for 15 years, because I'm not going out onto the range and taking 100 swings of the same club. I hit like 5 drivers and I get 1 or 2 good ones and I go, sweet, let me move on to the next thing. And then I hit, and then I'm like, all right, cool, that's it. And instead of like, 30 minutes to kill, I go out to the range. I'm like, I gotta hone this driver in. That's boring. I don't want to do the same thing over and over and over again, but that's what it takes to like master something. So you have to have good genetics, right? You have to have decent genetics. There are people who shouldn't be pro athletes, right? But they've got maybe a better disposition towards something else.
Yeah. Well, it's just a good mixture of everything. You have to have the good mixture. And here's the honest truth is got to have a little bit of luck, of being seen. Cause there's athletes who are, I've heard of people who are, man, this person is NBA bound. This person's NFL bound. And something happens, or the one wrong thing.
My brother's friend Thomas Hale was like
Thomas Hale kid
I've
ever seen.
Thomas Hale
live.
Do you know Thomas Hale? No. You don't know him because I think he went to a decent school. I think.
Absolutely should have played in the NFL. He looked like an NFL player when he was 16.
Blew his knee out sophomore year, can't play football anymore. Right? And that story happens all the time, especially in something like football, right? Where it's so physical. Yes. And that is true. Like you have to be a certain size, because even at high school, if you're not like hitting weights and like doing those things, you're gonna get killed.
Right.
Like you're gonna get crushed.
It's my favorite part about going to like a high school football game. Is just looking on the sideline and going, that kid. I can't wait till that kid gets in. And then they're up 37-0, and you're like, that kid's going in.
He's going in.
And he goes in, he plays one play, and he's coming out limping, and you're like, yes. That was the worst.
He gets up off the ground, his face mask is full of grass.
His face mask, but it's behind him.
Yeah, right. Like, is it Little Giants and it's backwards?
But no, that's okay. I think it's all that. Yeah.
So like real world example, Matt, I've seen pictures and stuff on Facebook. I don't think I've ever met your son. Maybe once at kids camp. I mean, he looks like you're 6'3", 6'4". He looks I'm
6'2", 6'3". Yeah.
Okay,
he looks taller,
like he's considerably taller than you.
Yeah, he is.
And he looks like
6'10".
6'10".
You're
Can
kidding
I tell
me?
you?
No, 6'9", 6'10".
Last year at the we do this Speed the Light basketball tournament, and he dunked on a kid after the game was already in hand, mind you. He like still dunked on a kid, and I did lose my mind. I was like, that was insane, and he does not have to jump very high to dunk. He just kind of,
if you're 6'5" and up, you're just like
he's got a 6-inch vertical to dunk. Yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
Which again, he probably still has like I don't know what's a good 30-inch plus vertical. He probably is like
no, not even close. I think it's 6 inches. I think he has that 6-inch vertical.
Dude, okay. I mean, when you're talking about genetics, who's the guy on Space? Well, actually, let's see if Darius can name this, or Ben. Who's the guy on Space Jam that's not Michael Jordan?
LeBron James.
Get out of here.
We said Space Jam 2. We said Space Jam.
Oh, Bill Murray?
An athlete. I'm looking for an athlete. Bill Murray's actually not a bad golfer.
There's Charles Barkley. Shaq is in it. Muggsy Bogues is in it.
Shaq is not in it.
Muggsy Bogues.
Shaq is not in it.
Bugs Bunny.
Are you sure?
Bugs Bunny.
Daffy Duck.
Bogues.
You're right.
Charles Barkley
Shaq is in Shazam. That's my bad.
Muggsy Bogues is who I was talking about.
The little guy.
Charles Barkley he gets his power taken away, like his athletic ability.
Muggsy
Bogues. When you see him dunk the basketball, you go, holy crap! Like that guy, he jumped like 6 feet.
He's like
it's insane.
5'10" or something. Yeah.
Yeah, he's short. But that's the thing. Like, okay, let me ask you this. Is Steph Curry taller than me or shorter than me?
Taller than you. He's 6'3".
He's 6'3". That's 6'3". Crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Because compared to all those other guys, he looks like
dude, it's crazy.
That's why he's got to nail the fadeaway.
It's odd when you see him on the court, right? He looks, and I don't watch basketball, I've just seen clips of like it on accident, but he looks like he's like a 15-year-old on the court. And then I've seen clips of him like in a crowd where like he's at a stand-up comedy show and they're like calling him out. And he looks like a giant to the people around him.
You know what's funny?
So wild.
The only basketball I watch is the
Harlem
NCAA tournament. If they probably air on the Ocho, I would watch it if I came across it for sure. I just thought of a good trivia question. I gotta tuck that away from the next. I was thinking about like name the villains, and I want to do like Rocky and Bullwinkle, but like Harlem Globetrotters. Like who do they play against?
The Generals.
That's crazy.
That's like it's always the. Anyway, what was I gonna say? Oh, NCAA tournament. Gonzaga, their coach Mark Few.
Mm-hmm. Good
job. Whenever he like brings his guys in, he like disappears inside the huddle because he like comes up to their navel.
Right. But somehow he tells them what to do. It's pretty impressive.
So is your son going to play college basketball in the fall?
He is. Yeah.
Can I ask where?
He's going. No, I would prefer not.
Okay.
But he is
community college.
No,
he is going to absolutely decimate.
Hey, Ronnie Roberts played for Yakima Valley.
So believe it or not, this is where I nerd out. It's a whole new world.
Don't get your wife pregnant or you'll play for community college.
100%. There's the transfer portal. There's a transfer portal, and there's NIL now.
Yeah.
And so those have changed everything. And so what would have been back in the day going to a bigger college, Eastern or a Boise State, is now going to a YVC or going to. So you have one of the best players in the state of Washington just committed to YVC. That's not where Jaden's going. He's going to Bellevue College. But basically, it's guys don't want the new high school to college is now JUCO to college. So it's JUCO to a Division II, Division
junior
1.
college.
So junior college. Sorry for the people who actually watch this show.
The
people who actually watch this show. Listen to this.
I just glazed over.
They're like, they turned it off already. We were talking about Space Jam. They're like, you know what? We're done.
Space Jam's the great.
So he's going to Bellevue. He's going to Bellevue, and then he's hoping by the end of everything he'll be at Gonzaga. That's what he's hoping. So
okay, so so you're saying that's the normal track, the normal.
That's a new normal.
Standard track is you go to junior college, you play there for a year or two, and then you end up at a place like Gonzaga.
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah.
So for you weren't like, I don't imagine that you were like hey, you have to play basketball, Dad. So how did that? Obviously, when you're 6'10", that automatically
things start shaking out.
You're in 5th grade and you're taller than your teachers, and you're like, I think I'm going to play basketball.
He was average.
I was going to say it happened late.
Yeah.
Tell that's an interesting case study, and like we're literally talking about this.
Yeah. So he was an average kid, and so I wasn't like, dude, I'm not that dad. You got to play basketball. Right. You got to do it.
You got to do it, man.
I was like, you got to play football. Like we're a football family, and so
we're not a family of nerds. We're not playing.
We
basketball,
don't watch Star Wars, but I think he's seen every episode, so he would love this. So he's asked me to watch it.
They are called episodes.
Yeah, I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No.
He's watched every film.
They're called episodes.
But I guessed on that one.
See, because I knew he probably think it's a show. I mean, it is a show.
Yeah,
but I know that's not what you mean.
Disney Plus.
I mean, the reality is, if you try to watch Star Wars now, you won't like it. I tell people that all the time.
Like, yeah, for sure. It's too far gone.
You have to watch Star Wars as a kid. Like and then people become adults and they make new Star Wars movies and they're like, these stupid movies are for kids. I'm like, well, jokes on you. It was for kids the whole time.
Well, the first. So I've been to I did a midnight showing of a Star Wars. It was
of a Star Wars.
I mean, you're talking like probably Phantom Menace, right? Back in 2000.
Yes, it was early 2000s.
Yeah.
And I sat there. I waited in line and did all that. And like my buddy's like, dude, this is going to be worth it, man. This is going to, I'm like, oh man, I'm so excited.
You must have been a teenager, right? Yeah, you had to.
No, I was early 20s.
Yeah.
Hey guys, quick interruption before the podcast ends. The last 5 minutes or so, the audio was like corrupted. It's gone now. So all there is the Zoom audio. So it's going to sound bad. You could totally turn it off because it's just Matt talking for most of it. And then Jesse recaps. But if you want to listen, then you're a real one.
Yeah.
I mean, the Phantom Menace was an insane thing.
Yeah. And I was excited.
Yeah.
And we went and we sat.
You're similar to me though. Like it's the thing to do with like a group of people, and you're like, yeah, I'll go hang out with like people, right? Like
eat popcorn and
nachos. Yeah.
Yes. Which is me at a baseball game.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I do that. Movie starts at midnight. They let us in. We get the good seats. Like we're middle. It's like perfect.
Yeah.
And the trailers start going, and you know how it is. Like, I think Dane Cook was the one who makes the joke, but like everybody's a critic at the trailers. Like,
yeah,
that's gonna suck.
Yeah.
And then the movie starts, and I'm like, okay, this is good. Like, And then the next thing I know, I'm waking up to clapping.
He definitely watched Phantom Menace.
Could have been. Trade routes.
Up to clapping, and they're all clapping because it's good, and I'm clapping because I'm like, it's over.
Yeah.
And I can go home.
No, so now I go back to my bed.
That is literally my and I've tried. Like I had someone who tried to get us to watch episode 4, 5. 1.
Yeah, the first one. The very, very first one, episode 4.
Try to watch that, but then I'm like,
talk about falling asleep.
That's not a real animal. That's a man in a costume.
Hey, that's what I love the most. Okay, we're getting off track here. Let's. So you didn't force him to play basketball. It happened. Gave him.
Yep. If he
gave him opportunity.
Yeah, if he wants to, what we've told him is, whenever you want to stop, you stop.
Yeah.
Whatever. If you want to stop at high school, you can stop at high school.
This is a whole nother conversation, I think, about like parenting and the difference between giving an opportunity, pushing them into something that is like because of your own ego or because you like football, right? Like I remember my dad being like, you should play football. I played football and you should play football. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to play football. Like because you like football. Like that's the dumbest thing ever. But then there is like a little bit of like, all right, you're going to do this and you're going to like stick to your commitment, right? Like if you start the year, you're going to finish the year. And if you don't like it, like, hey man, there's a whole bunch of like intricacies into that on parenting. You gotta live in the tension. Am I right, Ben? You gotta toe the line. Okay.
That was a big word that Jesse could barely say, and tension.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about tension. I thought that was the word.
No, that is the word. The big word is intricacies.
I have been working. You should know. Malia should know. I have been working really hard to only say niche instead of like
niche.
In the past, it says I go back and forth between niche and niche, and I'm sticking with niche
because the word's niche.
Niche. Listen, a niche is then you got to find your niche.
You gotta be careful because
niche is
letter there.
Niche is
you'll be a Matt Alexander.
But niche, I've literally not even on the pod, in real life, I'm like niche. I
think that's great because now when my friends are being annoying, I won't feel guilty if I say you're being a biche right now.
Life is great.
All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. Matt, thanks for hanging out with us today. That was a ton of fun. In your creativity, obviously you want to grow, get better, be better, put cool stuff out. But if there's an opportunity to bring someone alongside you or encouragement or opportunity or something, regardless of what you do, whether it's drawing, writing, or in a leadership position or whatever.
Playing basketball?
Do it. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I doubt there's anybody listening right now that are out there playing basketball. But if you are, what's what Lil Bow Wow always says.
What do you say? What's he say?
I'm playing basketball.
God bless America.
No, Lil Bow Wow was like Mike. Who's the I'm playing basketball song? I'm playing basketball, Mike.
I think that's cool.
That's cool in the game.
Something.
No,
He did a redone version of it.
Lil Bow Wow did.
Little Bow.
Okay, at least I'm on the right track.
Sure.
Was that for Like Mike?
It was.
That sick. Okay, that sick movie. All right, guys.
I'm playing Super Smash Bros.
Playing
I'm not going outside. I'm getting burnt by the screen. My controller broke. I'm throwing a fit.
Guys, like, subscribe, follow, do all of those awesome things. We'll see you next week. That's it. We'll see you next week. See ya.